said that luxury remains resilient in times of crisis, with people known to purchase items like handbags and jewelry as long-term investments. That had certainly been the case until last year, when major high-end brands saw a slowdown in sales. Third quarter results for some of the world's largest luxury goods companies were underwhelming, to say the least, and they expect to see an even bigger hit this year. The world-class luxury group Kering has warned overall revenue will drop 10% in the first 3 months of this year. The French multinational plunged 14% after the warning, dragging other European luxury lines with it. LVMH, Christian Dior and Hermès fell more than 2%, while Burberry was down 5.7%. The warning comes as Kering expects a steep 20% sales drop at Gucci, deriving primarily from Asia, one of its most lucrative markets.
I think consumers will all base their consumption on their economic capacity and the current environment, including their concept of consumption, which has slightly changed. Because the money they have on hand is relatively limited, they will consider more carefully where they need to spend it most and how to spend it.
The economic headwinds facing Chinese consumers has pushed them to change their purchasing habits, steering away from luxury products.
I am well aware that many luxury items are overpriced. Instead of spending more money on these items, I prefer to experience life through things like gourmet food and traveling to different countries, which are further away to experience different lifestyles. I believe this will enrich my life even more.
In recent years, high-end brands enjoyed an influx in wealthy millennials and Gen Z, driving the bulk of their sales. Thanks to e-commerce and social media trends, younger people with disposable income have gravitated towards luxury handbags, shoes and jewelry. In January, Kering rival LVMH reported that revenue for its fashion and leather goods category was up 70% in 2022 compared to 2019. But as global inflation takes its toll on consumers, demand is falling. At the start of the year, British fashion house Burberry also issued a profit warning following a dismal Christmas shopping season, as the cost of living and interest rates increase globally. Some experts predict that as luxury declines, fast fashion will continue to attract young shoppers. And with uncertain economic conditions, consumers are tightening their belts. Tayyibe Aydin, TRT World.
For more on this, we are joined by luxury business consultant Pallavi Sehgal, who is now in San Francisco. Great to have you on the program with us. Right, so we are seeing it's not really a great moment for fashion brands around the world, especially in Europe, but not only on the stock exchanges. They are plummeting. How much is this related to Chinese demand, but also European and American demand slowing?
Thanks for having me. First and foremost, I would like to mention that it's mainly because of an economic slowdown that you are seeing. A lot of can be attributed to the macroeconomic conditions. For example, in 2022, we had growth expectations of around 35%, which came down to 15% in 2023. In 2024, we are expecting luxury to be growing only by 5 to 8%. So a lot of it can be attributed to the macroeconomic conditions. But coming specifically to China, a lot of luxury brands have been dependent for their growth on Chinese consumers. And with a slowdown in China, we are seeing the same being reflected in the revenue projections of a lot of luxury brands. We have a lot of brands which are more exposed to the Chinese market, some which are not very exposed to the Chinese market. That is what you saw in the stock market also. When Kering kind of gave the warning that it's going to see approximately a 10% decline in their revenues, it wiped out approximately $9 billion in their market capitalization. Kering is one of the brands, and especially Gucci within the Kering brand, within the Kering luxury conglomerate, is one which is very, very dependent on the Chinese consumers. Similarly for Burberry also, wherein we saw 5% decline. And also when we talk about the beauty sector, Estee Lauder is also very dependent on China for their revenues.
That's interesting because when we speak about the luxury sector, many economic analysts would say that it's one of the sectors that's usually most resilient and doesn't really react to economic conditions, right? So it doesn't appear to be the case anymore. What do you think the sector will do this year and next year as well? What are your predictions?
The predictions are that the luxury industry will still continue to grow. It's going to grow by 5 to 8%, but compared to the last previous couple of years, we have seen the growth slow down. As I said before, from 35% to 10 to 15%. Then in 2023, it was just about 10%. And a lot of it can be attributed to the consumer segments also. You can actually divide the consumer segments into the top 1%, which are responsible for approximately 30 to 40% of the sales for all luxury brands. And then we have the aspirational luxury consumers. And it is basically this aspirational luxury consumer which has been held back because of the macroeconomic conditions and also because of the inflation that we are seeing in the market.